All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Moonduck coverage of the Northern Arena Beat Invitational presented by Bell. These are the main qualifier playoffs. Tonight we have the loser bracket, which unfortunately does mean that the loser of this best of three series will be heading home. This is going to be that best of three matchup between the Wild Witch Doctors and PaiN Gaming. A lot to see here in the upcoming few minutes, but first, I'm Android, being joined by Cap. How's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I just spent the whole morning analyzing the MDL games, going through all those. So I'm looking forward to Wild Witch Doctors coming back and playing against PaiN Gaming, who, I'm still like going over the games that we've seen so far. I think Wild Witch Doctors have a bit of an advantage over PaiN, but PaiN is not to be disrespected, I would say. I think that they have shown a lot more strength than they've shown as a Brazilian team in the past. PaiN has oftentimes been a team that has just been kind of walked over, but I think they've shown in this tournament moments of real strength.
All right. I mean, absolutely. There's been a lot of crazy plays on both sides, but unfortunately, both teams are here because they did drop down from the winner's bracket, and they've got a hard road to go through. There are 2 slots in the LAN event in Montreal in the upcoming week, so loser bracket finalist and winner bracket finalist both get to hop in there, and I'm very excited to see what goes down there. Now, PaiN's starting things out pretty interesting. First pick, Razor. I can't recall the last time I saw Razor picked up absolutely number 1.
Yeah, that's a little perplexing, right? Like, Razor is not a bad hero by any means right now. I think he's actually quite good. He fills a void when you need to go for some team fight power. But to double down on the team fighting prowess of both Razor and Undying is a little different, let's say. One of the things that specifically in this matchup the Undying picks gets for you is the Wild Witch Doctors. They're known for that 5 position Undying. So it actually gets it out of Wild Witch Doctors' hands because I wouldn't be surprised if Eagle did like second pick that for himself. Now we're going to have to look at maybe like a Leshrac picked up for him with the Oracle. I wouldn't be surprised if that's high priority here. I actually think that PaiN should really ban that one out because that's another different support that Wild Witch Doctors have shown some proficiency with.
Yeah, and it does have that taunt there that we know Eagle loves so well.
Yeah. It's also a taunt support. You don't want to give him any support.
I think taunts. Like Tidehunter, Leshrac, Undying, those are just 3 go-to heroes right there.
Yeah, I don't think Abaddon was a hero, by the way. I don't think that was one of the heroes that needed to be banned away. Like, it's a team fighting
Mike's
support.
Mike's offlane Undying is still pretty phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Abaddon, sorry.
I guess I just kind of assumed that it was Faceless Void offlane. But you're right. It could be, again, the mid Voids, safe lane Void, and that could still leave an offlane Abaddon out there. I guess that's an option. But I feel like in some ways you can't be afraid of the enemy team picking sort of team fight-based heroes when you've got arguably the better ones so far with Undying Razor.
Yeah, I mean, I just love Razor as a pickup here. I think every time he's run mid, he's so phenomenal. Just the static link is such a good spell and consistently undervalued at early levels. Why don't we see more Razor? What are his big weaknesses?
His big weaknesses are probably the biggest one is that he doesn't scale very well going into the late game. He used to kind of top out when he had the Aghanim's Refresher. What used to be the old build, right? It was like a pushing style Razor. And that was really where he topped out. Nowadays, you don't go for that build, but he still tops out, I would say, around the same time as he used to. So I don't think that this hero scales particularly well. His strengths obviously being he wins the lane. He usually does very well in the mid game, but you should be looking to close out the game, particularly with what PaiN have versus Wild Witch Doctors so far. Undying also does not go well into the late game. His Axe upgrade does give him better late game than he used to have, but it's still not a great support to have compared to Wild Witch Doctors who have the Void. We know Chronosphere is an amazing ability late game, and Oracle is okay late game. He can be really clutch, he can be kind of ineffective. Just depends on the initiation factor of PaiN, which they do get themselves some good initiation now, which I'm happy to see. They get a Sand King into their hands, which also gives them a very strong laning hero. So they could actually run some sort of dual lane scenario. Sand King Undying as an aggro dual lane would put a lot of pressure on Wild Witch Doctors and would probably stop them from being able to run a safe lane Void. But at the same time, mid Void is also being threatened by the Razor, which is probably going to be mid. So there's a lot of things that Wild Witch Doctors have to consider.
Yeah, I mean, they could still go for something super defensive if they wanted to put, kind of a dual mid with a little bit of support there for the Void if that's what they're doing, and pick up, big axe for the jungle. But I do think that Witch Doctors are feeling a little bit cornered right now. There's 3 extremely strong heroes on the field, both with kind of different playstyles. Like Sand King's a strong laner, Undying's great team fighter, Razor's great just one-on-one. So PaiN are really spreading themselves out in a nice way. They do still need to pick up most likely a secondary support. What's their best option here?
Let's see, you're facing up against a Morphling. You know what? A Disruptor actually wouldn't be terrible here. AoE silences are always kind of valuable versus Morphling. And it would give you more team fight, more setup to be able to follow up the Sand King's initiation, locks down the Void very well. Instead, they go for a different core, the Ursa. Ursa is really effective versus Morphling. It's what EG picked up against OG's Morphling. You just have to make sure that you have enough lockdown for this hero, and Ursa can rip through him pretty quickly. Because the more, obviously, the more you morph into strength, right, the more the less armor you have, which just means Ursa's physical damage, which is building up and building up, is even more effective because you're losing your physical armor. And Wild Witch Doctors go for the Disruptor.
Yeah, that's an interesting play. Is that a deny pick, or can they really get a lot of use out of that?
No. It's definitely not a block pick because you're going into the second round or the third round of bans here. So they actually do want it for themselves. It's not it's another sort of team fighting hero that can follow up the Faceless Void Chronosphere. It's a combination that I like to run quite a bit. I think there is some overlap to these heroes though. I think you needed some solid disable, and Disruptor is quite good versus Ursa. That's one of the really good things about the Disruptor pick here, is that kinetic fields, even if you enrage, right, it kites the Ursa. It gives you this really nice barrier. The glimpse, doesn't matter. Ursa can enrage, it won't stop it. He has to have a BKB to not be sent back. So those are 2 really good kiting abilities versus the Ursa, and as I said, combos with the Faceless Void and stuff like that. I think Wild Witch Doctors are just looking at superior late game here and good high ground defense via their team fight capabilities, like their big time ultimates. PaiN, they should be like from the get-go, like starting 15 minutes, looking to fight, take that Aegis number 1, take objectives, take Aegis number 2, go high ground, just kind of go. Even if they lose a fight against Chronosphere and Static Storm combination, they're going to lose maybe 2 heroes against that. Doesn't matter. Those heroes revive, you go fight again, because Chronosphere is going to be on cooldown, and maybe even Static Storm might be on cooldown too.
Yeah, I mean, PaiN, they've got a really early power spike with that Razor, with that Ursa, so just keep your foot on the gas pedal, because the later this goes, the more farm Morphling's going to get, the more impactful Faceless Void can be. So with PaiN's last pick, hopefully it's kind of one of those big, tempo controllers that can keep up, that can have that early power spike. What are we looking at here for PaiN?
Well, let's see. For Wild Witch Doctors first, I'm going to say... What do they need? What's good versus Razor? Nobody's happy versus Razor. I guess OD's
Centaur.
still in the pool, but OD would be super greedy.
Dude,
right?
offlane Centaur, I'm calling it.
Offlane Centaur, I mean, if Faceless Void still runs mid, they need a different offlaner, and they need something aggressive. Like, I know Wild Witch Doctors is a greedy team, but the thing is, this 4-man lineup that they have is already very greedy. So they need to have something that fights early to make sure that PaiN don't run over them.
Ooh.
And Queen of PaiN is actually traditionally one of the heroes that doesn't do too bad versus Razor. He gets chased out, he has to blink a lot, he'll probably lose in CS, but he is a team fighting hero. He's a WWD hero as well. He's a hero that can cut through some of these stronger heroes from PaiN with his pure damage. We'll just see whether or not his damage is enough to keep them in the game for a while, because that's the thing. Wild Witch Doctors, it seems like this is kind of the way they're always going to play, but they have to just be able to stick in the game until their late game heroes come online, because they always draft greedy.
Yeah, what's the objective going to be for PaiN? Is it, pushing up, taking a lane of racks by 30 minutes? Is it...
Alright.
Okay?
I just bugged out, and I think I left the game. Ugh.
Oh, no.
Alright, well, hopefully that didn't happen, but we'll see. Sorry, say that again. I have like my I think it has to do with watching replays. You have to like restart Dota before you go.
You do. You definitely do have to do that, or you get bugs up the wazoo.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Do you want me to disconnect? We can spectate from Dota TV.
No. I think I can. I think I can probably just play off of knowledge. I guess. I don't know. It's up to you.
For the entire game.
I mean, I've done that before. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we resolve this, but until then, so we talked about the lineups here and that PaiN have such early game momentum and they're going to need to just stack up and do what they can. What's their objective? Is it take racks by 20 minutes? Is it have a couple really successful team fights by 15 minutes? You know, what are they aiming for with such an early game lineup?
I don't think they need to be able to take racks by 20 minutes or anything like that. I think they definitely look to be able to take all the outer objectives by 25 and have Roshan number 2 in your hands by 25 minutes as well. I think that's the objectives that I would really shoot for. I don't think they're in any real pressure to like end the game outright too quickly. I think that, well, Witch Doctors, their lineup doesn't really come online, like truly come online until 35, 40 minutes. So I would say lane of racks by 30, 35.
King RD could be in some trouble here. He went for the ward, but his sentry was immediately gobbled up, and now it looks like he will be the first blood, trying to escape through the scares. Drops another ward in the meantime, but there's already a sentry down, so easy pickings there. Really nice start for the Witch Doctors.
Yeah, any kind of like, when you have a lineup that you're facing up against, like you've gotten better late game, but you're going to be facing up against this really big hill in the mid game, you have to make sure you get as many early laning phase advantages as you can. So if they actually got a first blood for themselves, that's a huge pickup, right? And if they just need to continue to try and find those openings, the problem is their supports aren't very good at being able to do that. Disruptor's just kind of okay once he gets level 3 or level 5. It's gonna be so much of this game, honestly, is on Queen of PaiN. WWD has really got to shine in this game.
Eagle could be in a little bit of trouble here. The Morphling gobbling his way through the trees, looking to turn this around. The Oracle does go down. They do trade for the Sand King, though, so it is going to be that 1-for-1. And now we are going to have Boris just sitting here, taking it like a champ, Morphling a little bit of strength, and King RD should be forced to back off, but there's going to be a TP in from the Oracle. Do they keep trying to pressure this Undying? He's walking his way into this side shop. Looks like he should be back a safe distance, so they're not going to continue to pursue. But a lot of action happening in this top lane as Sand King respawns, goes in for the Burrow Strike. I mean, these guys are just so ambitious, wanting to continue this takedown. Caustic Finale comes off, but not quite enough damage to finish off Eagle. King RD going to be taking another one of those Oracle purges, and I mean, he's just been eating those up. But for now, Oracle probably having to retreat, go back home, and Sand King's getting a decent amount of farm so far.
Oh yeah, it's just all about creating space for the Sand King. This dual lane should beat Wild Witch Doctor's tri-lane. I think almost 100%. In my head, like Undying shoves out both supports really well, and then he creates the space for Sand King to be able to get all these Caustic Finale CSs. And Morphling doesn't have the greatest range, so when he goes for CS, he actually has to be able to get close to the creep wave, and will actually take some of that damage. So his CS is not just going to be limited by an aggro dual lane scenario, it's also going to be limited by the Sand King and his presence in lane alone.
I mean, Tavo's been having a really fun time here. He's got, 1-0, hasn't gone down just yet. He's TP'd back into the lane, a couple of nice Burrow Strikes, and forced back the Oracle a couple of times. Now, we haven't talked a whole lot about this mid matchup. Razor versus Quap, it's getting a little bit heated now as 40R takes a good amount of damage. He does still have a salve, though. But in terms of CS, both pretty evenly matched. Denies, very heavy. Up top, another reinitiation here. King RD just wanting to keep being a brat. The CS is heavily going in favor of Sand King now, who's now outdoing the Morphling. Even with 2 supports in lane, this Morph just can't get enough.
Yeah, it's so good, right? You just pressure the Morphling as much as possible. You just trade, like, even when you're trading, like, kill for kill, like they did with the Sand King and the Oracle, like, it's still good for you because you're keeping the Morphling out of CS, and you're forcing him to burn through his regen. Meanwhile, like, look at bottom lane. Like, Ursa's matched up against the Face's Void. That matchup is so friendly to the Ursa, because Face's Void has no way to be able to reliably get rid of open wounds. Honestly, PaiN's gaming whole entire laning phase setup is just really nice, as long as they don't get too aggressive in their dual lane at top. That's all they have to do is just make sure they don't feed away too aggressively. And I think they've just kind of like won the matchups.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting tough here. Kill score, again, starting off slowly, but it is definitely going to pick up as PaiN, they find that early game momentum. Ursa's doing very well in terms of CS, 22-9. He's leading the charts. And you talked about this being a friendly matchup, because, yeah, Faceless Void, he's getting a small amount of farm now, 3-0, but there's no way that he's able to take on this Ursa with any sort of, convincing fashion. Ursa will live through basically anything thrown at him right now.
Yeah, I mean, open wounds last for 20 seconds. It's like, what do you do about that? Every single time you come to lane, you can take like 2 shots from the Ursa. It stacks up this damage on you. And like, how do you come back? You just sit back for 20 whole seconds until that ticker goes away, and then come back in the lane. It's just like unviable, right? And then it's just like, well, what happens if the Lion catches you? He's got double disables. That time is probably enough for Ursa to be able to burst you down as well. So even in a 1v1 scenario, you don't win. A 2v1 scenario, you're potentially going to die multiple times if you try for any CS. So Mike's going to be kind of out of luck, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, what's his best option? Iron Talon and bail off into the jungle? Because right now Ursa's just destroying him in terms of XP, farm, level. Like, it's just not going well for Faceless Void.
You've already committed to like 4-man shields and the quelling blades. I mean, if it's really that bad, I guess you maybe think about going Iron Talon jungling. But I think like Iron Talon jungling is one of those things you just kind of have to start off doing or not
Mike
do at all.
Could be in some trouble. There is going to be the follow-up. They bring in the Ursa. He's got the damage. Mike, he doesn't have the time walk available. He just has to sit there and take it as Lion body blocks him in. He goes for one strike onto the courier to vent his frustrations, but it's still going to be Ursa picking up a nice early kill on the Void, something that really shouldn't be happening to that offlaner.
This is looking pretty bad. Again, the big hope is the Queen of PaiN. Like, if Queen of PaiN can just go through the mid lane, get some decent CS, and then start rotating and just start putting a lot of pressure on PaiN's heroes and win these team fights, despite they should really be able to. Like, occasionally you'll get like a good Chronosphere and pick up 1 or 2 kills with the Queen of PaiN ultimate being used as well, or Static Storm. But for the most part, PaiN should be winning like 70% of these engagements. They should always be able to trade better than you, excluding the occasional scenario. So they're just going to get bullied. They're going to lose all their tier 1 towers. I'm not sure how they can create enough space, enough time in this game for Faceless Void or for the Morphling to really come in big.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hope here is to just fight elsewhere, keep the distractions up, have Queen of PaiN rotating and forcing rotations, but just keeping that Morphling farming, because we've seen Boris just turn into an absolute god when he's allowed space to farm up on that Morphling. How long is it really going to take?
It's going to take at least 30 minutes, I would say.
Oh, we might see the initiation here onto the Lion. Lucky bash there from Mike will land him the kill, but again, it does take a decent amount of rotation, and Disruptor gets credit for the kill, so Mike, he's still feeling real poor. He's got himself that poor man's shield, does grab the Talon, still trying to stick it out in lane though, but I mean, this Ursa can just walk all over him if he wants. Now underneath the tower, just continuing to farm up. His CS is pretty phenomenal, 38 at 6 minutes in the game.
Yeah, I think that's that's what those supports have to do on Wild Witch Doctors. That when the static laning phase is against you, you have to shake things up. You have to move around with your supports, try and gank mid if that's not possible, and Razor's a tough hero to gank, then go for the off lane.
Up top here, looks like Morphling is in a heap of trouble, a kill that's really crucial to get. They do drop the Tombstone underneath the tower, the follow-up with that Earth Spike, but Morphing strike. Now it looks like Tavo could be the one in trouble. Oracle comes in, focuses him down on the back lines. It looks like everyone else on the Radiant should be okay. Maybe spare King RD, who's now going to be eating some of those Shadow Strikes from the Queen of PaiN. It looks like he rotates around trying to get some decay stacks up, but oh lordy, that is not going to be enough to save you here. He's going to go get healed up, tries to deny to neutrals, and will be successful in it. Undying is able to get off the deny, so unfortunately no farm coming to the Morphling, but I guess some time in lane is secured for the little water droplet.
Yeah, we'll see how long that time really lasts though, right? Because PaiN should start putting the laning phase presence of like the Undying and the Sand King is good enough, but what's eventually going to happen is that PaiN will either naturally take their offlane tower, just through natural pressure of like the Ursa being able to do whatever he wants, or and then the Ursa is going to rotate to top, or the Razor is going to move himself up the top lane and just kind of park there. And they can take the safe lane tower away from Wild Witch Doctors, I think, pretty easily once they're just ready to go with some of their team fights.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the Ursa doing whatever he wants, and he's feeling super comfortable. 8 minutes in, he's got phase boots, he's got raindrops and a morbid mask, and now they're looking to punish the Void, who does have the Chronosphere. There's going to be the supports waiting in the wings. They're smoked up. They know the Void's somewhere in here. Not quite sure if he's been gobbling his way through the trees, but there they go. They catch wind of him. He's put out that time walk already. They just got to catch up with him. There is going to be Queen of PaiN waiting here. Nice chrono connecting onto 3. Sonic Wave comes in. The Ursa, he turns, he mans up, goes into the ulti for Mike. Just gets decimated by an Ursa with like literally no health. Ursa will end up falling from the damage over time. There's a deny coming out and a taunt appropriately from King RD. He's able to take the Ursa out to the grave, and a Mike will end up eating it. Queen of PaiN blinks back to safety, but quirky engage all around. Ursa for Void, but Ursa gets denied by a teammate, and Void just gets organically destroyed.
And that's like Ultimate's use, right? That's a scenario where that's one of those few scenarios where you should have been able to come out on top as Wild Witch Doctors, and you didn't. Not really, you know, thanks to the deny. So, in which case it's like, okay, that was the scenario you were supposed to come out ahead, and you didn't even do that. Now what happens? Like, Chronosphere's on cooldown, PaiN can very easily pressure you wherever they want to.
I mean, the light at the end of the tunnel there is now Boris is getting a ton of farm up top here. Morphling has had space for the last couple of minutes as the supports spent their time down bottom. So Morphling is now back even very close to the top of the chart in terms of CS, sitting just barely behind the Ursa. He's managed to pick himself up his Ring of Health. He has his Aquila. So it's not all bad news. They are finding some space for their cores, but like you mentioned, Witch Doctors have such a fragile early game that when they do commit the chrono, when they do commit that Sonic Wave, you need to get something from it.
Honestly, it's really respectable. But what Boris has managed to do in his laning phase, the fact that he like is even close to like top 2, like repeatedly top 2, like he's never going to catch the Ursa most likely, but he's like this laning phase, he's always kind of like top 2, top 3. That's really respectable given how much pressure he was feeling in the early game.
Yeah, now it's back to mid here. I mean, overall farm for the Razor's been pretty great. What's Razor's ideal contribution in the upcoming fights? Like, where does he want to be? Who does he want to focus? You know, what's his role basically in this team?
He's a bully. That's what he is. Like, Undying is the laning phase bully. Razor is the mid game. That's exactly kind of the way he plays. You know, you play in the high ground, nobody can really kill you. You know, unless they have to overly commit, in which case your team can do what they want to be able to respond in turn. So I think that's kind of like the play. You know, you just kind of like play the front man, you take the objectives because no one can fight into you, especially Wild Witch Doctor's team, right? Like Morphling's not ready to go really. The Faceless Void he's only going to be able to fight around Chronosphere, and that's it. He doesn't provide any damage himself. The only real big damage dealer is Queen of PaiN and the Disruptor with maybe Static Storm and a little bit of damage from Oracle's Purifying Flames as well. That's not a whole lot to work off of, you know?
Yeah, it's getting tough. Now, Razor's build, he's going straight for that Dragonlance. When I first saw the Ogre Club, I thought, first item BKB, that's ambitious, but he is going to be getting up those stats, flying it out right now, but will he live long enough? Faceless Void coming in, he's going to drop the Chrono, it does connect onto the Razor, they drop the Static Storm as well, and the Queen of PaiN joins the party, she goes in, they are able to take out the Razor now, there is going to be that Connect Field trapping everyone in, and it looks like Queen of PaiN is going to be in some trouble. Ursa manning up, going all the way in, the glimpse back is not enough to save Disruptor's life, so currently Razor drops, but they do trade for the Quap and this the Disruptor as well. Most likely the tier 1 tower too. They know Mike is going to be in the wings waiting there. Ursa is just clearing out the wave like it's no trouble at all. And this tower's getting lower and there's nothing Mike can do. There's no chrono. He's going to be picking up magic stick charges just to get a little bit more mana so he can play around with the time walk. But oh, it is not easy being a Faceless Void right now, watching this many structures be bullied.
Yeah, certainly not. Because again, you kind of blown your load, right? You use Chronosphere, you use Static Storm, like you've done what you could to be able to kill what heroes you could. But after that point in time, you run out of steam.
Oh wow, nice item pickups coming out at the exact same time. Both Ursa and Sand King grabbing up their blinks. 12 minutes in, Tavo on this offlane Sand King has found enough farm for Arcanes and that blink dagger flying out. It's a good day to be Sand King.
Yeah, he's probably going to have a real fast Ags.
He bought it and then sold it. So we'll see if he's going to
sold his
rebuy.
blink?
Yeah, he did sell his blink. He's now sitting on 2,500 gold. He might just want to go to the side shop and pick it up there without the courier. There we go. A little bit of, of a wait getting that blink dagger out, so just go ahead, buy it in person. Now, there's going to be some TP rotation down to the bottom lane. Morphling, oh, might be in a little bit of trouble here. There's the channeled up ulti coming through. The Burrow Strike connects as well. Monk, no matter how much strength you morph, will it be enough? Hex comes through. Meanwhile, Ursa just making the space, forcing back the Queen of PaiN, and a nice Earth Spike latches on. Quap is able to land the blink out. Now, Ursa has to limp away. Shadow struck up. There's a ton of damage coming out. Can they focus down the Morphling? They're able to do so. Mike tries to leap back to safety, but right into the embracing arms of the Undying. Do they focus him, or do they turn around and try to go onto the Oracle? The Queen of PaiN is still up and fighting. Does manage to find the Sand King on the back lines. Now, reinitiation, they easily take out this Oracle, and they're looking to wrap around and finish off the Quap. She stops to farm, which may end up being her demise, but she is able to blink up onto this high ground. Mad pings come out from the Radiant. It looks like they are able to latch onto her. The blink, though, it does connect, and she is able to TP. Very well timed there from that mid laner on Witch Doctors, but that was playing with fire. Whew.
Seems like another scenario where PaiN is just able to bully Wild Witch Doctors. If they had just been able to like completely kill the Morphling like instantly with the Epicenter initiation, obviously that fight could have looked a lot better. But I think PaiN, they hit their timings really well with the Blink Dagger. They identified what they wanted to do with that Blink first, like shutting down the Morphling. Keeping him from getting Linkens is really important, because then the next step, once Morphling does get Linkens, the next step for killing the Morphling is having Lion get a Link, or not a Linkens, excuse me, a Blink Dagger. Because then that's the only way you can really do it.
Meanwhile, Ursa's just ripping through people. Queen of PaiN easily torn to shreds in the mid lane. Did take a rotation in from the Sand King, but he's more than happy to show off his new fancy Blink Dagger. So we've got Blink Boys now rotating in towards the Radiant jungle, and they might be able to catch some very important kills here. Mike, Disruptor, there's going to be the Oracle as well. They're all rotating up. Burrow Strike going to be off the mark there, but Oracle just slapped apart. I mean, you got the DD rock-in onto King RD, but it doesn't even matter. You can't withstand the just raw power from the Ursa. He's hitting too hard. His Roche timing is going to be pretty great if he heads into the pit right now, which it looks like he might be looking to do. Just going to be blinking in, and there he goes. He's got himself that casual Morbid Mask. Almost 1,500 more golds on top of his Blink Dagger and the mask and the boots. This is a phenomenal start for the Ursa. The Morphling still doing really well in terms of CS, net worth as well, but it's Morphling versus the world here. The Quap has not made enough of an impact, I don't think.
And that's really not on. I think like WWD has done the best he could, but honestly, there's so much of a burden of like responsibility on his shoulders to be able to do whatever he can.
Disruptor, solid effort there, just dropping the Static Storm into the pit, but not able to follow up with the Kinetic Field. So Ursa just continues to munch away at the Roshan without any danger. And now Disruptor down in ulti. You've got the Faceless Void Chrono ready, but he does not want to jump into this big mess. So it looks like Witch Doctors, they're going to stay far away as they know exactly where PaiN are. They're all focused up on this bottom half of the map, so they just choose to continue farming top. You've got Morphling clearing out the jungle. He's going to be working towards that Lincoln, so he'll have it soon, but I just really don't know if this game can go late enough for Witch Doctors to really come online.
Yeah, they have to go heavy split push the moment they have that Lincoln's on the Morphling. But again, like that split push can be defeated once the Lion gets a Blink Dagger himself, which obviously may be a little bit, but I still think that while the Witch Doctors don't have, like their timings are so, they're few and far between when it comes to just gaining small advantages. Like for example, just based on cooldowns, for example, like when can they actually kill like any hero, like a big core like Razor. It's going to be on Chronosphere and Static Storm, for example, right? And then there's like, when can the Morphling really split push? Well, not until he has Lincolns, and even then, when he does have Lincolns, once the Lion has Blink, then there's possibilities that he still gets caught while he's split pushing. So it's just like Wild Witch Doctors, their draft never set them up for success.
Smoke rotation in from the Lion and the Ursa is revealed by that scan on Witch Doctors, so they know something's going to be up. Maybe looking to posture up and try to take a fight, but on the back lines, it looks like the remaining members of PaiN are pushing in through the lane. They're cornering Witch Doctors. They have herded them like sheep right here. They are just cuddled up behind this tower, and we'll see when the actual fight's going to break out. It is going to be Boris leading the charge, just trying to get that lane farm. The rest of the heroes are there to back him up. Lincoln's is going to be popped out as Razor tries to go in and just get a couple of right clicks off, but for now, just complete stalemate. No one on Witch Doctors is jumping the gun. Everyone on PaiN just continuing to zero in, continuing to push up. They're now at the tower. And Razor's plasma field does clip onto Eagle, who's just going to book it right out of there. Undying from the back lines, just trying to make something happen. But for now, it looks like Witch Doctors once again avoiding the fights. There's going to be Ursa jumping in. Oracle didn't get the memo to back off and actually dives up under the tower and just gets it from PaiN.
I mean, honestly, behind towers, like, it's not a good enough place to be safe, you know? When you've got, like, an Ursa and Aegis, you've got all these blink daggers, you have all the mobility, you have the better mid-game, you have, like, so many reasons to try and force the fight. They're not just going to be content.
Queen of PaiN blinking forward, wants to find something here. Tosses out a Shadow Strike, but it won't even connect as Sand King. I mean, he's going to be limping away. But Co-op just feels really underwhelming here. She's picked up the Oblivion Staff, so it looks like she will be going in for the Orchid build eventually. But that's still 5, maybe even 10 minutes off, depending on if she gets dropped in the next couple of minutes. And you've already got heroes on PaiN. You've got Razor with a completed Hood of Defiance now on top of his Dragonlance. You've got Ursa with a Basher taking on the Ancients. It just feels like Witch Doctors are in such a behind position that even if this game goes for another 30 minutes, it's really going to be tough for them to start surpassing what farm PaiN are getting.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, that's the other thing. They had to be like 35 minutes and be somewhat even to really start contesting PaiN, but the way this is looking, it's going to be like a 10-15k advantage when PaiN start pushing high ground. And even if while the Witch Doctors can stall, I don't believe they can actually win this game until they're either even in net worth or they're like 60 minutes in. Morphling's got to be in a position where he starts just like one-shotting people, but how many people can you actually one-shot in this game? There's not very many. Lion?
I mean, maybe the Lion, if Sand King plays kind of forward and already wastes the Burrow Strike, you can kind of hope to get him down, but Undying, Razor, and Ursa are all going to be appropriately tanky. And now, Razor's build here, picking up that Hood of Defiance, he's now got Boots of Travels and the Dragonlance. What kind of style is he going for? Because there can be those, you know, you mentioned the Aghanims Refresher Razors, there can be the Mech Razors, there can be the tanky Razors. What's he trying to do?
It seems like all Razors are avoiding going the mech builds, and Aghanims kind of fell by the wayside a while back. It seems like everyone likes to be able to go Ring of Aquila, Dragonlance, and then Boots of Travel. The difference here being that he sidestepped into the Hood of Defiance. But I think that was an item that was kind of necessary in this game and will definitely be necessary later on when the Morphling has a shotgun. If you choose to go that build, he may just try and go a right-click build. I'm not entirely sure what's best for Boris in this game, to be honest. You're just not in a good position to really make an easy call.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird split push right now. All the Radiant are occupied in this bottom lane. They will be able to secure the tower, but now 2 lanes at once being pushed. Boris taking on this mid lane. Will now have to deal with Undying coming in, but the rest of his team are going to be trying to go in towards this top, but really nice epi here from Tavo, trying to get down this Disruptor. The Static Storm, though, getting that silence, not going to save his life, unfortunately. It was a great ulti, and speaking of great ultis, there's a nice combination from Queen of PaiN as well as the Void. They are able to pop an Aegis. They're able to get the Sand King down. Ursa's coming back to life. I don't think he's going to be able to find anything here, but he's blinking forward, charging after the Quap and Mike, but they're both able to escape. So in the end, they're going to be losing Ursa's Aegis. They're going to be dropping the Sand King, but at least they get both supports and they stop the push on their top lane.
I think at this point you don't really need to give up any towers if you're PaiN unless you're getting a really superior exchange. You're getting like 2 tier 2s for like a tier 1 or something like that. I don't think you really need to give up any map control in this game. Morphling will naturally take that map control, this split push later on into the game, but the more you hold on to now, makes it harder for the Morphling later on, because then he has less vision on the map, you have more vision to be able to operate on, and it's easier for heroes like the Lion to be able to move around the map with those outer towers still up. So I like the fact that PaiN are willing to go out there. With the Abyssal Blade, they should just be able to lock things down, honestly, when they're able to get that on the Ursa. I can't think of too many items that are necessary for them to go high ground besides just lockdown and having an Aegis. So I imagine they go high ground soon.
Razor, our big bully boy, he's trying to go after this Morphling who does have a replicate up, so not the end of the world if things go sour, but I mean, Boris, he's now saving up. He's got like 3,200 gold on top of his Lincolns, still sitting on brown boots, but what's his next big play? Boris, what you doing, son? Forest. Oh no, he's going to be stuck here. Oracle's going to help him out. He can't help to replicate if things go south. Meanwhile, you got Tavo trapped in, collected by 3 heroes, will eventually go down, so things going well for Witch Doctor so far, but Ursa comes in. All of a sudden, your 2 supports are dead. You've got your Razor raging. He's chasing after the Queen of PaiN, who should be able to blink to safety. But letting those 2 supports drop for virtually nothing means that now the rest of the lanes are going to push out. You've got your Razor taking care of mid. He's got his ulti up, just ripping through these creep waves, and there's not a whole lot that a Quap without her ulti and a Void without his ulti can do about it.
That's kind of like the name of the game, right? The whole entire game's based around those ultimates for Wild Witch Doctors, and when they're gone, they are a completely ineffective team. Unless they somehow just crazily outmaneuver or outnumber PaiN, which shouldn't ever really happen. I think PaiN's doing pretty good in their movement around the map. I like the fact that, has the Ursa picked up his axe yet?
He's picked up his point booster, so a little bit slow going here. He's got the rest of it on the courier, and it will be flying out to him right now. There he goes. So now he's got his Aghanim Scepter, 500 gold on top of that. Still sitting on the casual Morbid Mask. Are we going to see him grab Vlad's or Mask of Madness, or can he just leave that for a while?
You actually, like, as an Ursa, you almost don't need to level up Morbid Mask anymore ever since the change up of Fury Swipes. So a lot of Ursas, for efficiency's sake, will leave it at just Morbid Mask for quite some time. Others will go for the Mask of Madness if they really feel like they need to be able to pressure early. But obviously that wasn't the case here, right? He just went for the earlier Blink Dagger into a Basher, and has been able to go from there. But I like the Axe. I think that was a very smart pickup against the control of Wild Witch Doctors. We shouldn't ever see a scenario again where he gets bursted like he did at the top lane with the Static Storm and Chronosphere.
Speaking of top lane here, we're going to have a nice TP in there. Oh, blink forward. Goodbye, Queen of PaiN. There's going to be a Chrono on 2, but Mike just hauls ass away, and leaps back down to the low ground. Meanwhile, there is going to be a kill on the Sand King bottom, but it occupies the carry and the 2 supports, so unfortunately this tower left defenseless. The Quap, she hits the deck, and this will be a tier 2 going the way of PaiN at 24 minutes in. And TP back down to the bottom. They're still defending this tier 1. They want to go take out this Morphling. He's pesky. He now has the Replicate. He has the Lincoln Sphere as well as the Ghost Scepter. So we'll be going in for that shotgun. There's going to be the Glimpse back. They keep everyone back in their place. Now Ursa TP's in. They know there's no Glimpse. Oracle is able to keep the Disruptor alive, but just temporarily. That is the deadest Disruptor I think I've ever seen. And now there is going to be Eagle chased into the tree line as well. He can't TP. He's just going to sit there and take it like a champ. Surrounded by 4 heroes. Godlike streak now out for the Ursa, who continues to farm up. The rest of the team moving forward, and they might be able to pressure tier 3s now.
Yeah, absolutely. This really should be high ground time for them, I think. They don't have to worry too much when they have the Ags on the Ursa. Like, he can be easily, I think, the high ground pusher. Obviously, it's a lot easier when they have Aegis and Cheese.
Yeah, I mean, they're picking up another Aegis now, 25 minutes in. It was a pretty short Roche respawn, so he is able to grab that up, and there is no one from Witch Doctors that wants to get even close to that pit right now.
It sounds like a really high ground. Like, this is where Wild Witch Doctors, most of the game has been, like, when you set games up like this, it's all a preamble until the high ground defense. Now, granted, PaiN do have done very, very well for themselves leading into that high ground defense, but there is still the chance that Wild Witch Doctors manage to hold against PaiN when they go high ground, but it seems unlikely given the gigantic net worth advantage and pretty decent experience advantage that they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10,000 net worth advantage, 7,500 in terms of XP, so levels are great, items are great. Now we're going to have a rotation in. Our Ursa, he's blood hungry. He really wants to get something done, get those little pickoffs to make it easier just to bust into the Witch Doctor base. But what tools do Witch Doctors need to really be able to defend this? They've got the Quap Orchid. I mean, they've got the Void Blink. What are Witch Doctors waiting for to be able to have a really successful defense?
There's nothing that they can actually pick up item-wise in the next, like, 10 minutes, let's say, that will really let them, like, win the fight. What it is all about how they initiate. What kind of, like, how they smoke up and wrap around and attack the back line or something like that. You just have to get an initiation that wins you the numbers advantage. Like, you need to be able to instantly kill Lion or be able to pop Undying real quickly and go from there. Just kite the Ursa as much as possible.
Big smoke now from PaiN. They're grouping up. They're waiting for someone to walk up onto that high ground, but no one's fighting, so 5 hero smoke rotation. Not scouted out, but not quite fruitful. Now they just clear out the lanes pretty easily. Ursa taking these stacked Ancients on the other side of the map that he stacked himself earlier, so getting a little flavorful on the Witch Doctor territory, and there's not much they can do. I mean, they've got their Queen of PaiN out farming because she's so mobile. She is able to escape from sticky situations, but even the Morphling, he's just been confined up near the stairs. He can't even leave the shadow of his old tier 2s. That's really his limit on how far he can push.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, starting from, 21 minutes or something, Lion had his Blink Dagger, and we saw the very first time he showed that was against Morphling when they pushed in the bottom tier 1. The only reason Morphling survived was because there were 2 supports behind him, one with the Oracle save and the other with a Static Storm follow-up. That was the only reason that Morphling survived there. So it goes to show that even though he's this mobile hero and he's got the Lincolns, he can't even split push effectively because PaiN have covered their bases so well.
Well, speaking of cover, they're about to cover this floor with blood here. You've got the Queen of PaiN. She's got the blink at the ready, but they're going in for something else. Queen of PaiN is able to get back. She actually blinks aggressively onto the Radiant side of the map. And now there is going to be that Orchid drop, but Ursa shows off that Abyssal Blade, and they should be able to clean up the Queen of PaiN. Beyond Godlike streak continues for the Ursa as he's 14, 1, and 4. Quap dead for almost a minute. I mean, she's got buyback, but at this point, it's so expensive. She's so far behind in farm that you can't do a whole lot. Now, we are going to have Boris try to man up on this Undying. Goes in, tries to shotgun him. Oh, but he is going to regret that as Epi just dunked on him. There we go. 2 carries dead. Witch Doctors, they're now cowering, and it's time for PaiN to show off their tier 3 push.
Sounds pretty easy. Should be a lane of Rex. I think, they that's the thing. They're in a position where they could get the lane of Rax and they could back up and they literally could do nothing but just kind of like hang out and farm until the next round of Roshan, get another Aegis, then push high ground again. Like, they're so far ahead they don't have to worry about time.
Oh, come on. That's not very nice, King RD. Taunting up onto the high ground as the Witch Doctors just have to watch their tier 3s get clobbered.
King RD giving Eagle a little bit of his own medicine. You know?
Absolutely. He's having some fun here. So a bit of a slow siege going on. Now Ursa, he's just going all the way forward here, easily picks off the Oracle. And Oracle's dead for 45 seconds. No buyback on him. Disruptor's doing what he can, tossing out the cute little Thunder Strikes, but it does not tickle Ursa at this point. He is just too beefy, not feeling frightened. He's just been taking this tower for like 30 full seconds, and he's feeling fine. Now there is going to be initiation here. They are able to catch out the Disruptor. Do they have the follow-up? Dust comes in, trying to reveal the Sand King, but I mean, for now, everyone just sits back, feeling really comfortable. There's a silence up onto the Ursa, takes a shotgun. He gets down pretty low, but again, does still have the Aegis and the ulti as well. Sonic Wave clips onto him, but he's going to get healed up by the Urns. Meanwhile, Razor continuing to pressure the racks. Slowly but surely, they are dropping. Focusing the melee racks. Now Ursa, he dives in. There is going to be that Static Storm on top of him. Leap away from Mike. He lives now, gets most of his HP back now. It looks like they might be able to drop Monk. He's going to get healed up by the Oracle. Has that ulti rocking onto him and should be able to live through this. Meanwhile, in the back lines, Lion. He's going to get focused down. Lion drops the ulti, but it won't be enough. There's a Chrono here connecting onto the Sand King. It does trap in the Razor as well, but on the back lines, Ursa able to take out the Quap as he was not trapped up in it. Now Razor focusing down the Morphling. There's a buyback on the Quap, but I don't think it's going to be enough to defend these racks. These racks that have been focused for the last 2 minutes of the game are still being worked on here, but now commanding the Razor and the Ursa's full attention, they will finally be falling.
I mean,
Lion, he's up really, really far here. Maybe just trying to bait out some spells. Monk gonna drop the shotgun, but I mean, you get the Lion. Congratulations, you lost your racks and all your supports. Queen of PaiN blinking forward again, doesn't have the ult, so King RD takes a Shadow Strike and taunts all the way back down to safety.
Like, you did everything you could, right? Like, you fought back, you got, like, it's pretty decent, like, Chronosphere, like, 2 mana on 2 cores, that's pretty good, but, and, like, it still isn't enough. It's unlikely you'll ever be able to defend the second lane of Rax. And that just, like, once you get 2 lanes of Rax, it's so easy for PaiN. Like, they could actually push this, like, 70, 80 minutes. That's the thing. Once you start taking these objectives, it prolongs the game for you. You can push this later and later and still win out, despite you're supposed to be more of a quote-unquote mid-game team, and the enemy's team's supposed to have a late-game hero. It doesn't matter at that point, because objectively you're in a better position, and you can always win a game with 2 lane racks, just because, like, positioning and those sort of things.
I mean, the reason that PaiN can't hold on indefinitely is because, in theory, the Ursa and the Razor should stop scaling, but this Ursa is just miles ahead of everyone on Witch Doctor still. He's still got like 20 minutes before he feels threatened, no matter how hard the Witch Doctors farm. He's still got that Abyssal, he's got the Ags, he's continuing to move up top of the net worth chart, followed up by his Razor, so yeah, Razor doesn't scale phenomenally into the ultra late game, but that's only a problem if Witch Doctors have cores that are scaling well themselves. And I mean, Monk is trying so hard. He's got the shotgun, he's got the Lincolns and the Boost that travels, but he can't turn that into kills. He's 2-2 and 3, just not feeling on top of the world like he should be at 32 minutes.
Ultimately, I think this is definitely a draft loss from Wild Witch Doctors. You know, they had some draft wins earlier in the tournament, so it's not like the drafting is a problem for them. It's just sometimes you do get out-drafted, and this game one, I think that is absolutely the case. I felt bad about their draft when I saw the first four, you know, and their last pick had to be like something like a Queen of PaiN, some sort of tempo controller, because that was the only hope, is that it was like, all right, WWD, just go ham for us and win the game, like almost single-handedly. That's what they were asking him to do with the way they drafted this.
Yeah, it's getting tough now. You feel comfortable having your Lion split push solo top up against a Morphling and a Void. That's where PaiN are at right now. They are just not spooked. The Witch Doctors are feeling very defensive, and I mean, this is a best of 3, so it's not like Witch Doctors are just kind of rolling over dead. They've definitely got a lot more fight in them, but at this point in the game, they're kind of just ready to sit back, go to game 2, refresh, start things over again. I think they kind of underestimated PaiN in the sense that PaiN were ready. They just started the game with their foot on the gas pedal and never quite let up. And Witch Doctors, they got to pick something that can kind of go with that strategy.
Yeah, like when you open with Razor Undying, that like very clearly telegraphs, like, we are going to be a 20-minute team, right? And I don't think Wild Witch Doctors, I don't think they planned accordingly when it came to their draft. Like, I think the Morphling is not necessarily a good hero versus those kind of strategies, and the support combination that they have was definitely not good against this, because you had to have more active supports, and that's the problem with Oracle, by the way. It's why Oracle was not picked up in previous iterations of the meta, because of the fact that he was too slow of the hero. Despite the fact that he hasn't actually changed. Like, he's still the same hero. All of a sudden, he's being valued a lot more because I think the game has slowed down to a certain extent. But, obviously, PaiN, they drafted a very quick lineup, a lineup that was meant to end the game by 35, and they're well on their way to do so. More like 40, 45, obviously, but I think you can almost call this game over by 35.
Yeah, I mean, the racks are down, but for the last, 5-10 minutes, there really has been a change of pace where PaiN are now sitting back, waiting for Witch Doctors to come to them. Witch Doctors are scraping together a decent amount of farm. All the lanes are pushing in, so they're finding what they need to. Do you think PaiN need to really keep up that momentum and force more fights, or do they have the luxury to sit back and wait for the next Roche and wait for the next big fight to happen?
I mean, that's what we kind of talked about earlier, right? We touched on the fact that they didn't have to go from taking that bottom lane of ranks to immediately trying to push the next one, because they bought themselves so much of a cushion. So it's not like they're in danger of like, oh, an extra 3,000 gold on Wild Witch Doctors, that's going to change the game. You know, like they're not close enough in farm to be able to make that kind of call. Like, Wild Witch Doctors won't be able to close that gap with 2 or 3 minutes of farm. So what's the point of risking it, essentially? If you look at PaiN, like, what's the point of risking it? Just wait until Roshan's up and solo it.
Speaking of Roshan here, we got Mike trying to pull a sneaky, but I think Roshan is beating him. He is doing very little damage, and he's about to find the entirety of the Radiant squad. They're looking around the pit. I don't think they know Mike is in there. They know someone's going to be around. They will be able to find out Eagle in the trees. He goes, he ults himself, but he is most certainly dead. Now Mike is going to bail out of the Roche pit. They see that it's got a little bit of a dent, but it's just completely in the hands of the Radiant. Now there is going to be the rest of the Dire kind of scrambling around. You've got Queen of PaiN trying to clear out the lane. Should be able to TP back home, but just kind of enjoying her freedom, enjoying her time out of base. It does feel like Witch Doctors are kind of really grasping at straws, going for plays that may not make the most sense, like trying to have an underfarm Void solo Roche when you've got a hungry Ursa after you. But,
yeah.
High risk, high reward in this case. They do lose their Oracle. They don't end up losing any of their cores. Disruptor shows his face here behind the Roche pit. It looks like 40R might be content punishing that. Razor pops into the ulti, just tearing apart Mike, who's trying to frontline. Does have that chrono at the ready, but obviously not wanting to spend it until it's all down and dirty at the last big fight up on the high ground. It's going to be coming soon, and now Disruptor just gets torn apart by lightning. Cheese is on the ground, will easily be snatched up. Looks like that's going to be going the way of the Lion, getting a little bit of an extra life on him. And, well, appropriate taunts coming out from the Undying as it seems like PaiN are mounting up to make their last big high ground push.
Yeah. There was only like 2 chances for Wild Witch Doctors, right? They sneak Roshan themselves, or they get a big Roshan fight. And the second option is unlikely because Ursa can just solo Roshan. The rest of PaiN can sit outside of the pit. So it's not like one of those scenarios where, oh my god, we got a 3-man Chronosphere inside the pit. They should never happen because Ursa can just solo it and the rest of the team.
Playing a risky game, trying to wrap around, actually making it a far ways out of the base. Going for the distraction, Mike pops in, they do land the chrono. It does connect onto King RD, but it's not the target they want. Ursa, free to move out the country here, just goes, kills off the Quap. You've got Boris trying to do what he can, but the GG is called out as Oracle just rolls over. They've had enough. Witch Doctors, unfortunately not able to take game 1. They've got 2 more chances here in this best of 3, but loser of the series, they're going home. No Montreal for them. There's a lot on the line here. Any last thoughts about the game, Cap?
I think that when you're in a situation like Wild Witch Doctors, where you just had your greediness punished, that weighs pretty heavily on you going into game number 2, because that's going to stick with you, right, while you're drafting. You're going to be constantly thinking, am I drafting too greedy? Am I drafting too greedy? And that means that Wild Witch Doctors may just limit themselves too much just because they're scared of what PaiN has proved that they can do with this kind of like faster paced lineup against them.
All right. Again, huge shout out to Cap right there. Great analysis. And we should note that Cap was watching the entire game 2 minutes behind. So, fun fact about that.
I want to know how many people didn't know that.
Press 1 if you did not know that Cap was watching the entire game 2 minutes behind. All right. We're going to go into game number 2 of the series, so stick around. More Moonduck coverage of the Northern Arena Beat Invitational coming up in just a few minutes.